Hey gang, Jim Spellos here. Welcome to Minute Tech. Weird times, ain't it? So, a lot of you need to work remote these days. So what I figured we would do right here is go through a list and a whole host of the tools that I use and I know other people use to help out with working remotely. Just so we don't forget some of the things that are available to us. I'm going to do this. I'm going to showcase one in different categories. There'll be a list somewhere, maybe here, maybe here. I'm not sure where it's going to be yet. That will talk about which tools that I'm mentioning, so you can see it on the screen. Please feel free to share this. Anyone who needs the information, either to start up working remotely on their own or as a just refresher, it's all about getting the information out there. So let's start it out. Really three different approaches that we want to look at. One is embrace the cloud. Because guess what? Now the cloud has to be our friend if it wasn't before, and I'm sure it was. Number two, it's tips and tricks and good apps and tools that are out there. We'll talk about tools. And one other thing that we are going to focus on, no surprise here, but it's important, is focus on your privacy and your security as well. So let's do these one at a time. Let's start with, and I'm going to go over here to the content sharing tools. You need something like this, and this is not going to be news to anybody. But to have either working a Google Drive, Office 365, storage, Dropbox, tools like this, really, really critical to be able to share information. I happen to use a combination personally of Drive and 365 and Dropbox. I use them all for different reasons. I like Drive a lot in terms of sharing. I like Drive for collaboration. Dropbox clearly better for storage, at least from my perspective. And also remember what I'm saying here is one person's opinion. If you're using something else and it's working for you, that's what it's all about. So one part of this process, and we're going to go through it pretty quickly, is going to be content sharing. Next part of the process is some sort of team messaging app. I know a lot of folks were looking at Slack as an option, which I think is great to be able to do. But whether it's Slack or Zoom, which we'll talk about in a second, or GoToMeeting, or Microsoft Teams, or WebEx. There's so many tools that are out there. And I've really lumped two different categories together. I've lumped the category of, and let me get this off the screen, don't need to see of the collaboration tools like Slack and Flock and Teams, and then the voice communication, video communication tools. I really do like Zoom personally as my tool of choice for video meetings. And you also make audio calls there, which is great. Also understand that a lot of these organizations have marketplaces where there are things that you can add in there to enhance productivity. For example, in the Zoom marketplace here, if you need to have a meeting and then make a transcription and maybe even generate a to-do list out of it, there are a ton of AI, artificial intelligence tools that you can add in. Some free, some pay. Just go at your own pace with all that. Otter Voice Notes for Zoom is one that I've been testing out and it looks pretty good. I think it gives you like 600 minutes for free for the month. So having a tool that allows you not to have to do the meeting and then go back and listen, going to help out. And oh, by the way, you can record the meetings, and that's also another thing you want to make sure you can do. And while we're doing this, and I'll just get the camera back on me for a second, a good headset, boy, this has really seen better days, so maybe I should get a new one. But anyway, something that's going to give good clarity and importantly have some sort of functionality where it's a microphone built in as well. You probably all have this. I'm not an earbuds fan. Get something with decent quality. If you're going to be doing stuff online like podcasts, however, you really want to make sure you have a top-notch microphone. That really makes a huge, huge difference getting the audio right. Next up, and I'm just going to stay here because I don't use these tools, but you need a project management tool, especially if you're working in a group. Some options: Trello, Asana, Basecamp, Todoist. It doesn't matter which one you use. Find one that's going to work for you, that's going to allow you and your team to be kept on track. I'm a one-person operation. Oftentimes what I'm using is a Google Task, something very similar. But for most folks, especially if they're going home right now and working remotely, make sure you have some sort of tool that can connect you with your team in a really good way. Next up, note-taking app. Oh my gosh, before we get there, we've got to go here. Evernote, Google Keep, OneNote, all really good. I've been an Evernote fan, and by the way, I always like to talk about tools that are platform agnostic. I don't like tools that just work on Mac or just work on Android or just work on iProducts. I want something that's going to work across the board because you don't know with whom you are going to be collaborating. By the way, these are the notes that I'm actually looking at for this particular session that I'm doing right here. Just a great thing to be able to have to do a note and have it instantaneously on your PC, on your phone, on your tablet, connected with your teams. Great stuff. By the way, for annotation, Skitch, S-K-I-T-C-H, it should be up here somewhere, also is a tool that is by Evernote that gives you the annotation capability of notes, especially on your mobile devices. Cool stuff. Next up on the conversation, we need some sort of remote access to other computers. If you have a technical problem and your IT folks need to get in there, or you have something you're trying to connect to another computer, whether it's Splashtop, which is here, or TeamViewer, you know, all sorts of stuff. Join Me people use sometimes too. But I like the idea of having one of these tools. I have Splashtop on my iPad and on my phone connected to my PC to be able to access this. And don't you like the yellow line there? Prepare your organization for remote access and working from home. You know, these tools aren't free. You got to take a look at it. You got to go into price. And that's why I don't recommend any of these. I just tell you what's out there. And I'll tell you what I use because at a certain point, that's what's important. Other productivity tools you got to think about. Well, I've always liked Doodle to be able to schedule stuff and schedule meetings. And by the way, we'll talk about another approach to that in a minute. And if you're looking at a time tracking tool, a tool called Toggle allows you to time track within the organization how much time you're spending on different projects. Important stuff. By the way, extra credit on here with working remotely is making the most of the time to take content, read it, and share it. I'm a huge fan of Flipboard. If you've seen me do any of my sessions, you know I talk about Flipboard as one of the best AI news curation tools that's out there. But to me, the Daily Double is using that with an app such as Pocket, which allows me to seamlessly share and organize my information. Here is my list on Pocket. I've been doing a lot of stuff on digital privacy. There'll be a video about that coming up soon anyway. And here just my notes. You know, I'm using these tools that I'm talking about that I think are really, really worthwhile. So extra credit on this is making sure you're using a smart tool to get your news. Avoid the noise if you can. Focus on what's important to you. And then some sort of tool that allows you to share it. Okay, now, other apps, tools to help you manage the time, distractions. If you have a browser such as Chrome or Firefox, you want to be really aware of stuff like browser extensions and add-ons. These are tools that allow you to sometimes use what we've already talked about, such as Evernote, and do it straight from your browser, or have additional functionality. Now, what I have here are a lot of anti-privacy or pro-privacy tools that are up here that are out there, but I also have a Save to Pocket. I have annotating, awesome screenshot. I have disable autoplay. I have my dash lane. We'll talk about security and password management. Zoom is even up here. So the bottom line is, if you're using a browser, consider add-ons and extensions. However, just so we're really clear, you should never download any of those, whether it's Chrome, Firefox, or another browser, without doing your due diligence first. Some of the stuff that's in those marketplaces can have malware, so you want to make sure that go to Google, put the name of the tool you're thinking of downloading, the word malware as part of the search, see what comes up. What's going to come up is a lot of noise saying, oh my goodness, you don't want to download this, sort of the danger, Will Robinson approach. You probably shouldn't get it. Or talk to friends that you know. Have you used this? Have you used that? We're all in this together. We all want to share it together. So next up in the conversation, limiting your time on social media. Boy, you know, I think it's really, really important. And there are tools that are out there. I have not used any of them. I think I have a decent handle on that. But I do also know there's an article such as this one in Guiding Tech from about a year and a half ago that talks about setting time limits on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you need that, be aware that you do have those capabilities out there. Next up on the conversation, Time Doctor which allows you to really monitor your time and see how long you're spending on with different clients. An app like that can really, really be useful for a lot of people. In the artificial intelligence realm, I've been using for a couple of years now X.AI that allows me to have a virtual admin named Amy. It could be Andrew if I wanted it to be, and get away from that back and forth of emails when you're trying to set up a phone meeting with somebody, and instead, or face to face when the time comes again, we do that, and have Amy do all the work. She connects into your calendar, she sends a great email. They couldn't tell it's an AI device right there to the person, and get it set up, and you don't have to spend that extra time doing it. Pretty good. What else are we talking about here? We're going to talk about this in a second. Before we get here, one more thing. There are interconnectivity tools, and I didn't see it up here right now, but I'm going to put it up on the screen. IFTTT, which stands for If This Then That, and Zapier are two tools out there. This is sort of remote working 201 or 301, because if you're just starting out with these tools, you might not need this. But if you need to interconnect them, that's what these tools do. A lot of people use IFTTT for their home Internet of Things, their Nest, their Wemos. They're all different tools that allow them to automate the functionality. So good stuff to know about. Again, IFTTT and Zapier. As we're winding up the conversation, we have one more big category, and that is your digital security. And you know me, it wouldn't be a session without me talking about that. Okay, if you got a password manager, why not? Don't use your browser. Use an independent password manager, and stop having all your passwords be 3 or 4 characters or the name of your dog or whatever. I use Dashlane. I pay for it. It's about $35, $40 a year. Goes across all my devices. Let's just do this. I'm not going to show you my passwords, by the way, but if I wanted to get my Amazon password here, and I'm going to go here, I'm going to edit the item, and somebody gets this and they hit show, and bam, not going to come up, because it's going to ask for the master password. And that's the basis of working within password managers, is putting together a single, difficult to crack master password that you will always remember. Make it long. I would say at least 20 characters, and don't make it something that somebody can guess. As long as you remember it, because they don't keep that information, please utilize these. By the way, if you're not a fan of Dashlane, you want something less expensive, LastPass has been out there for a while and is really good. Now, while you might not need this while you're in your bunker at home, a VPN is never a bad idea to have. I've used TunnelBear for a while. I mean, if you're going to the local coffee shop to get something during the day and you want to check your email or check stuff, make sure you have a VPN on. TunnelBear works on a freemium basis, free to try. You pay for it throughout the year. Once we get back to normalcy, whatever that's going to look like, anytime you're at a hotel, anytime you're on the road in a public Wi-Fi space, you got to have a VPN. And speaking of passwords, and sort of backing up for a second here on the passwords, change your home router password. I know it might be something that seems difficult, but with all the crazy people out there, and I'm sure as people know that more people are working from home, there's going to be more attempts to crack and hack into that. Routers, whether you get one from D-Link or whomever, in Linksys, Netgear, it doesn't matter who you get it from, they tend to use, as you see in this website called router-passwords.com, you see they all almost use the same username and password. Change it! Make sure it's changed. You don't want someone hacking into your router, which also connects to your Internet of Things. Why take that risk? Change your router password, especially if you're working out of home. There's IFTTT. I should have seen it earlier. And ExpressVPN, another good VPN. So we're going a little bit backwards here, but that's okay. Email encryption service is not a bad idea too if you're really concerned about the email not being encrypted, and I'll put a link to the bottom for an article that gives you a bunch of those that are out there. A few other things you might need to know is that if you're having issues with your connectivity, you can always just go to Google and type in speed space test and then run their speed test, which I'll do right now. And clearly it's slow. We have a lot of stuff that's hogging the bandwidth. Cable modems, cable providers are known to have a lot of fast and a lot of very slow times. And that was a very slow time that we saw. But at least you can get an idea of whether the site's down or whether it's just your connectivity. Also in this conversation, now that you're home, take care of yourself. I am using these folks for a couple of years now in my training that I'm doing. Fitness Blender. I don't care if you're using a gym that does it or anything, but find a place to incorporate some workout time in your day. It's going to help you be more creative. It's going to get all the kinks out of your body. You're not walking around as much. So utilize that. Really, really good idea. Have that as a constant approach that is part of your day. So that was a lot of stuff in not that much time. So again, we're going to have a list of everything throughout this particular video. It's here, or I don't know where it's going to be, but it's going to be on here throughout the conversation, throughout the video. Check it out, watch it again. If you have any questions, feel free to connect with me, Jim Spellos at meeting-u.com, to be able to get questions answered. I'll help however I can. But I do hope this was useful. I hope this will allow you to be that much more productive working remotely. And I hope you're all safe and sound. Be well, gang. Thanks. Bye.